Hey, what is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Pitera channel. So those of you who follow my channel know that recently I got off the beautiful Carnival Sensation. Had a great trip, but I will tell you it was probably a very odd trip. And sadly enough, I went from being in the beach to coming home to this. Yeah, not very fun, unfortunately. So our last trip was kind of interesting. It was, let me start by saying that on board the Sensation, we had a convention on board full of DJs and photographers. And they are always a blast. We do it every year. But because of that, we literally have to bring about 25 bags through the airport, which is always a nightmare. And this last trip, I have to tell you, I could have literally put a GoPro on my luggage and made a National Lampoon's Goes to the Caribbean vacation video. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. And looking back, while it was stressful at the time, looking back, it's always kind of humorous. I tell everybody, you know, even a bad day on a cruise ship is better than the best days at home, especially when you're looking at this. Yeah, we got about 2 feet of snow overnight. Just as another note, I will be on the Carnival Sunshine on February 15th for an 8-day Southern Caribbean. So if you're on the Sunshine, make sure you come say hello. So let me tell you about our last trip and all the things that went wrong. It's just ironic. So we'll start with, we were arriving at Cleveland Airport to fly to Miami, and I bring not only everything for the convention, but I also bring a lot of camera gear and a drone, and literally have at least 6 or 7 suitcases full of camera gear. So we get to the airport, and the only piece of camera gear that I didn't pack that I was actually carrying on board was a flexible gooseneck tripod, got a value of about $250, and a custom-made mount that holds my iPhone XS. So I'm carrying that through the airport, and we board the plane, and my wife says to me after we get on board, she says, "Where's your gooseneck microphone?" And I looked down and I said, "Oh man, I forgot it outside in the seats." Well, luckily I knew the gate agent because I used to work for Delta Airlines, and I asked if I could go back outside, which is usually a no-no, and see if my gooseneck was sitting there. And she said yes, and I went outside, and unfortunately it was nowhere to be found. So I get back on the airplane, and I'm frantically searching Amazon to see if I can get another one of these custom-made pieces for my iPhone delivered to the hotel in Miami. And with about 4 minutes left before they close the doors to the airplane. Now, if you fly, you know that once they close the doors to the airplane, that's it. By law, they can't reopen them until your flight either gets canceled for whatever reason or you arrive at your destination. And then the gate agent comes back on board, and she says, "Sal, they have your gooseneck. It's down at the check-in security checkpoint at the airport," which of course is all the way at the other end of the airport. So she says, "If you hurry, you can make it. You have about 4 minutes." So I get off the plane. I decide I'm going to take my chances, and I run top speed to the other end of the airport. And, you know, I'm not the most in-shape guy in the world, but I literally sprinted. And by the time I got to security, I literally couldn't breathe. And the conversation went something like, did you find my, oh. So this went on for about 30 seconds, and finally I sputtered the word gooseneck microphone, and the security agent looks at me at TSA, and he looks at me and says, "Oh yeah, we delivered it to the plane 5 minutes ago." So back I go, sprinting all the way back to the plane. So then we arrive in Miami, and the flight was perfect. Nothing went wrong there. And the first thing we realize is my son's bag, his cologne broke open and literally drenched everything in the bag with cologne. So now we have this bag that, while Polo Red smells great in small quantities, when it's drenched on your clothing, not so much. So there's another little dilemma. So then my wife and I, we leave the rest of our party at the gate, at the door where the baggage claim is. And my wife and I take what seemed like at least 3-mile walk, and then a train, and then another walk to get to the Alamo car rental. And yes, Alamo, I am calling you out on this because what we experienced with you was absolutely unbelievable. So let me back up at this point. I reserved our car through Alamo at least a month in advance. And I told the people on the phone when I reserved my car that I would be paying with a company debit card. And they emailed me a receipt, and for type of payment, it literally spelled out the words debit card. So we get to the Alamo counter, and we get to the counter and we approach a guy, and I don't know if he was having a bad day or what, but he looks at me and he says, "Oh yeah, we're not taking your debit card." I says, "Why not?" And he says, "Well, we don't take debit cards." I says, "Wait, that can't be right, because this reservation was made well in advance." And he proceeded to tell me that it doesn't make any difference. He's not taking our debit card. So, and I get that might be company policy, but again, I had a written reservation in my hand. So I showed him the reservation, and he looked at me and he says, "Well, that's Alamo, that's not us." So I looked at him in his Alamo uniform with the Alamo sign right behind his head, and I says, "I'm not standing at Enterprise, am I?" And he just kind of blew us off. So luckily we were able to find another company, Sith Rent-A-Car, which a big shout out to. Not only did they rent a car to me, even though they didn't take debit cards either, but they made an exception for me because of the way we were treated at Alamo. But it also cost me about half the price as well, because we had a very large rental car. The Alamo car was literally going to cost us $250 for the day's rental. So we ended up getting a car. We get back to pick everybody up, and we go to the hotel, and we had a great time in Miami. And then the next day, my wife put really a lot of my good clothes, after spending a night washing all of our clothes from that were in that bag, put a lot of our good clothes and some of our toiletries and some other pretty expensive things inside of the duffel bag that really stunk. And we went up to the cruise port. Well, somewhere between handing that bag to the porter at the cruise port and getting on board the ship, that bag got lost. So now we're on board the ship with no toiletries, a lot of our expensive clothes, some of my electronics, all in a lost bag. Now, I will say that Carnival was absolutely fantastic. Not only did they offer to give us some onboard credit to buy our toiletries and some other items that we needed, but they really got us through. So big thumbs up for Carnival as well. And that's the reason why I always choose fun and go with Carnival, because they do treat you very well and do their very best to make sure things go right. But I will say, through the rest of the vacation, just little things just kept going wrong. Really had nothing to do with the cruise line, just all kinds of little things, both with the convention and just throughout the cruise. So let's fast forward to the very end of the cruise. We're flying home, and of course everything goes wrong again. My son loses a shirt on the plane that I had just paid $50 for at the gift shop for him, a hoodie. We land back in Cleveland, and I looked at my wife. We get our bags, and we're all standing at the door, and I says, "Thank God we're home. Nothing else can go wrong." Not so much. So we had to drive 2 vehicles to the airport because we had so many bags. Well, when you check in at the airport in Cleveland now, they no longer give you a ticket like they used to. Now when you check in, you actually scan the credit card that you're going to use when you check out. And I guess it timestamps your account with that credit card, and then when you check out, you use the same credit card. So we walk all the way out to long-term parking in the cold, which is probably another mile-long walk. We get to the cars, and my wife says, "I didn't bring the credit card we checked in with. It's in my bag with everybody else, sitting all the way back at baggage claim." So we walk all the way back to baggage claim, get that credit card, walk all the way back out to long-term parking. She gets in her car, everything's great. I get into my Hummer, and the battery's dead. It just couldn't, little things like that just couldn't seem to stop going wrong. Luckily, the airport authorities were really nice. They came out relatively quickly. jumped my car, and we got home. So another big shout out to Cleveland Hopkins Airport. They really saved me from having to call a tow truck and figure out my battery situation in the Hummer. But just little things like that just kept going wrong. I will say again, big thanks to Carnival. One of the other things that went wrong is just as we were leaving the ship on the last morning, I purchased a $200 photograph package and then proceeded to walk off the ship and leave the photos on the ship. So, and then to my surprise, they actually showed up in my mailbox here at home yesterday. So another big shout out to Carnival. They also called me and they're going to help us out with our bag as well that got lost. So, the reason I tell you all this isn't to like share my woes with you. It's to really let you know that, you know, when you're on vacation, specifically on a cruise ship, you know, things can and do sometimes go wrong. But really the only person that can make it ruin your vacation is going to be you. Just like as if you were going on a land-based vacation, when you board a cruise ship, you're literally on a floating city. So there's going to be some people you don't like, even crew. There's going to be people that you just don't personality clash with, and that's okay. You know, little things are going to go wrong, and that's okay. You know, try to remember that you're on vacation and you're not at home in this. And just enjoy it, because no matter what, that memory is only going to come once in a while. You know, you've paid for it. Just enjoy your vacation and have a good time. You know, and I see too many people come home and they complain that, you know, the cruise line was the wrong way to go because little things went wrong. But I'm here to tell you that little things can go wrong no matter what vacation that you take. So I cruise, as you know, a lot, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I primarily cruise on Carnival Cruise Lines because, quite frankly, they take very, very good care of me and my family. You see a lot of things on the news where the cruise line messes up, and I think that's really because, you know, it makes good news when the 24-hour news cycles have to fill their day. You know, one little thing that goes wrong on a cruise ship, out of the hundreds of ships that are out there and the thousands and thousands of people that are on board that nothing goes wrong with, you're going to hear about the one little thing that does go wrong. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to share the experience of this trip with you. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you like, share us on your social media. I can't tell you how humbled I am that our channel is growing so quickly. We're about to hit, or I think we just hit 21,000 subscribers, and our videos have views from literally a couple thousand all the way up to almost a couple million views on some of my videos. So I really appreciate you watching, and stay tuned. We have a lot more videos to come. On Monday, we have a really cool video we're going to share with you with a dining experience that we had. I think you'll really enjoy. I'm going to try and upload that tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So I will see you guys next time.